Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Grid Talk podcast. And as always, it is myself and Wajid on board. Hi, Wajid. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good. Nice to see. Nice to see your house is okay, and you've not been raided by. I heard there's a Greg's nearby you.
Yeah. We don't always get political on this, but I'm just going to put one thing out there very quickly.
Or a shoe zone.
If you're getting involved in anything, whatever faith, whatever religion, you're an idiot. Anyway,
let's just deal with that. Let's go.
I think that deals with that. We are here for the F1 half-term report. Yes, okay. Before anybody says it, yes, it's not half distance. It's over half distance. But we still have a massive 10 races to go in this season. For some reason,
and calling it a mid-season report was shorter than calling it the midsummer break with 10 races to go review.
Yeah, we're all going on a summer holiday with you. Not that most of them are going on summer holidays. They go and have a nice, relaxing time on the beach. So that is we're going to go through each one. And as you can see, right when I find it, that one, we have a score sheet. So on this score sheet, we will obviously be placing the drivers A, B, C, D, E, and F. We didn't have a grade for Nikita Mazepin, so we're okay. As you can see, we're back again. So be welcome to put your views across. We're hoping to get through all the drivers today, but we will just see how we get on because you know what we're like. We'll take forever doing it. So without further ado, should we start with the first one? I think the first one very much needs to be the world champion, Max Verstappen. Started the season on a high, taking victory in Bahrain and Saudi. The early retirement in Australia didn't fault his progress with pole and fastest lap in the next race at Japan and China. Then second in Miami, followed by another victory in Imola. And by now, people were saying kind of championship over. But since then, in the next 7 races, he's took 2 victories, second place, two fifth places, a 4th place, and a 6th place, and only 1 pole position in that time. So it's not been as sort of dominant as he probably expected, Wajid.
True, but I also do want to add he still extended his lead in that period where he's not won a race. He's still scored the most points in that period.
Yes.
He has still extended his World Championship lead over Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, and the rest of the Mandem. It might not be stellar, but he's also won 7 races this season. So, I mean, for me, you can't give him anything less than an A. I don't know if you're going to show the screen or not with the...
I will do it in a minute. I was just... because he's the first one on. I think we're quite in agreement of where he could go. I mean, if we put it on the last 7 races, and we've got to think, obviously, these are being judged on what we feel they should be doing as well. Yeah. So, for example, an A for Logan Sargent would be getting points. An A for Max Verstappen is off winning the championship. So it's that kind of judgment call. So Max Verstappen, I think it's got to be an A. But if you go off the last 7 races, it's questionable whether you would give him an A because obviously in Austria he had the driving standards issues. In Britain, he somehow got second. I'm not sure how in the end of strategy. It was the main part of it. Hungary, kind of nowhere. Belgium didn't come flying through the field as expected, but then nobody moved through the field in Belgium as expected. So it's so I was just looking behind me, wondering what that was. It's a mini fan. I was like, what the hell is that? Little R2D2. And anyway, I think you can't give him anything less than an A. But if he loses a championship at this stage, then he's definitely not an A for the season, because he should be away and gone, even with the car not being the outright quickest on the grid right now.
No, but you also have to give him credit for the fact that when the car was the quickest on the grid up until Miami, he did what he had to do, which was plant the car on pole, essentially drive away the field as and when, which has allowed him to sort of tail off is probably the wrong way of saying it, but the team has tailed off. But I mean, for me, you're saying all this, and yet he still scored the most points in this period. Like, I can't overlook that. Yeah, cool. Yeah. He's not got the constant wins. You know, the car quite clearly has either happened to the car, or everyone has just massively progressed forward. I don't know. I think the second half, second third, or whatever you want to call it, of the season, Max should be grateful he has the lead he has, because I believe if that lead was 25 points smaller, we see a much different Max Verstappen. We see a Max Verstappen much closer to the one we saw in Hungary, and we have a very, very different outlook on the World Championship. As it is, we're going to Zandvoort, where he's untouchable, and he has the lead he has, and I just can't overlook that, I'm afraid.
No, I completely understand that, and it is kind of what I would expect to be the thought process of most people at this moment in time. So Max Verstappen, as you will see on here, A. I think we pretty much agreed with that. Yep. There's nothing else we can give him right now. So we will stick with that. We'll welcome in. Max is an A or B. I'd say B for recent. Yeah, I can kind of get that. But like we said, he still scored the most with not the quickest car. It's a different story. But yeah, okay. You can have your view on Lewis. Next up, we're going to go in a bit of an order. We'll at least keep teammates together. I know that Wajid has already passed on his grade for Sergio Perez to me and said it's ungradable, but we've got to grade him in some kind of way. So Sergio Perez, 7th in the championship right now. Start of the season, okay-ish. 4 podiums in the first 5 races, and never out of the top 5 in the first, up until Miami, actually. So I'm not going to say he was challenging Max, because he wasn't. But he was there doing his job as the number 2 driver. Then, since Imola, where he finished 8th, he's had 2 retirements. Okay, fair enough. Monaco and Canada. 8th, 7th, 17th in Britain, 7th and 7th. Now, this includes 7th in Belgium from the front row of the grid. You know, the other ones we can kind of look at, he's screwed up qualifying, he's tried to come back through kind of thing. So there's been an issue there in terms of, you know, he's not started at the front. But now we're looking at a position that he's actually qualified at the front and still not converted it and still finished in 7th place. So Wajid, I mean, I know you said ungraded.
Who's 8th? Oh, sorry, the disqualification. I forgot
disqualification.
About
yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's the end result and what he scores that's important.
No, sorry. So don't flog me, chat. I forgot about the DQ.
Yeah. So Wajid, what is your view on Sergio Perez's season as a whole?
He's very lucky to still be in a job. He is incredibly lucky that the Mexican Grand Prix is not race 3 and it's race, I believe, like 18. The Checo of 2020, when he was in the Pink Panther and people were saying, how has this man still not got a driver? So he's dead. He's long gone. He's buried. He's 6 feet under. He is never coming back. Checo, you are incredibly lucky that the Red Bull Driver Academy is as incompetent as it is. You're very lucky that F that Liberty Media got involved and said we need to sell tickets. Please don't get rid of him. You're very lucky that you have the sponsorship you do. You're very lucky you sell cans in Mexico and Latin America the way you do. It's been disgraceful all year. You somehow have less wins than Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, and of course your teammate. I don't even I don't even think he's had a pole position this year, and the only way he goes is backwards. So, yeah, I mean, if that doesn't sort of suggest where I am with his grading, then nothing will.
Well, Sergio Perez. Let me find him on this sheet. There we go. We'll put him in there at the moment. So I'm presuming you're going DEF territory. Is that where you're heading?
I mean, I didn't give him a grade, and you said I had to grade him, so then you know.
So F.
It has to be an F.
Yeah, for myself, not a great season by Sergio, obviously. The start of the season doing the job he needed to do, especially when Red Bull were dominant enough. Now, just something seems to have gone off the boil while Red Bull have gone off the boil. And personally, just because he was doing what he needed to do in the first 5 or 6 races, because he got third in the sprints as well earlier in the season in China and Miami. So as much begrudgingly as I do, he's stuck between an E and an F for me. He is just, because he's still doing a job. He's not like completely out of points. We're not talking about when Gasly and Albon were in them cars and he was totally out of it. But should he be a lot higher in the championship? Yes, no doubt about it. Should he be second, third, fourth in the points minimum? Yes, I agree. So it's really difficult. I'm going to leave him in F for now and see where we end up, because obviously we could. So there he goes down in the F column. Bookmarking the grid at the moment, aren't they? They're like little bookshelves. But it's a difficult one with Sergio because he does bring a lot to the team, and he is still a good driver. If like Audi are still looking for somebody, I mean, going against Sergio Perez would not be the worst case in the world. But
yeah, I mean, you can sell Audis in Latin America.
But what's your choice? I mean, if you've got Sergio Perez or Valtteri Bottas,
I'm taking Valtteri Bottas at this moment. No, there's not.
Well,
it's not tough at this moment. Sorry.
At least both of them will play the team role. Now, while we are on the subject of Red Bull, I will throw out there, obviously, we've had news since we're last on air, which was meant to be early this week, but I kind of screwed up. It was that Jonathan Wheatley has left Red Bull and gone to Audi as the team principal. Now, Jonathan Wheatley hasn't been a team principal as such yet in Formula One, so it makes me think, I don't know if you agree with me, Wajid, but power struggle. He wanted Christian Horner's seat. Christian Horner hasn't gone anywhere. Jonathan Wheatley goes, I'm not getting this job. I'll go elsewhere.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. Who cares about being a communication director when you can lead the team? That's literally what it comes down to. I don't know if Jonathan Wheatley is the right choice. I think that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But I am I'm very intrigued at Audi's decision making so far, and the team's not even on the grid, just with the hirings and firings and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're attempting to cook, but it seems like they're just finding whatever's left in the fridge and try to cook an omelette without eggs.
I think the best. Sorry, to cook a what?
Cook an omelette without eggs.
Oh right, okay. So with what, almonds?
An omelette without eggs.
Oh, without eggs. So I'm going deaf in my old age. Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. Definitely an interesting one, but. We will get on to Aldi later on. It leaves space at Red Bull. There's been rumours that they're going to split his job and GP will get a little bit of a promotion. I think he deserves it after all the earache he's had off a certain Dutch driver over the years, and seems a very solid choice to promote inside the team. But yeah, I don't know who would go there and know you're second fiddle. You're always second fiddle to Christian Horner. So it's a difficult one.
It depends if you're bothered about the success or not.
I heard him on all the occasions. How didn't you? Oh, you heard from Wheatley, but it doesn't mean he was involved as such. He was definitely the number two. But yeah, Red Bull on the way to a double championship at the moment. So we can't say fairer than what we've said so far, but yeah, they also decided that Perez will stay, so let's see. But 2025 is in the air, so Perez certainly does have to kick on, but we'll keep that for our next season 2026 video, which will happen at some point. Next up, sorry, go on. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to speak up to our next team.
Yeah, we are going to go for George Russell first. Let me find him on this sheet. There he is. He's not posing this time. Would you like to go first on this one?
I don't. Russell's season has been really interesting because before a certain email leak, he looked like the genuine lead driver. Looked like he was leading the team. Looked like he was going to be the first teammate ever to beat Lewis Hamilton more than once. Everything was looking rosy. He got the win in Austria, and then, ever since certain emails dropped, he seems to be lagging behind his teammate all of a sudden. Yes, he was very, very unlucky with the failure in the UK in Britain, and we all know what happened in Belgium where he got disqualified after a fabulous drive, but he somehow manages to find himself, I believe, like 34 points behind Lewis at the minute. Is it 150 plays 116, I believe?
Yeah.
So you could say he's probably been the better Mercedes driver in the first half of the season, and yet he still finds himself behind his teammate. So that's why I find it really weird to grade him. I was teetering between an A and a B. I think I eventually landed on a B, just because, for one reason or not, regardless of how well he's driven, he's behind his teammate in the World Championship, and that was sort of the deciding factor for me. But he has been a fairly standout and I'm someone that's very, very critical of George Russell. I don't think he's there on that same level as Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris, as Sky Sports tried to speak to him about.
Yeah.
But it's been a solid. It was a very solid start to the season, but it's turning into potentially solid yet unspectacular for George Russell. And let's see how it goes after the summer break for him.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. George has been almost Mr. Consistent when the car is not good. And that's not me. Before everybody jumps on it, that's not me saying Lewis Hamilton can only drive a good car. We all know he can drag a result out of cars. But if you look at the start of the season, Lewis, 7th, 9th, retired, 9th, 9th, 6th, 6th. That's up until Monaco, and then a 7th in Monaco. George, 5th, 6th, 17th, when he basically crashed in Austria. 7th in Australia, sorry. 7th, 6th, 8th, 7th, 5th. Really consistent, best of the rest. Going to be in that position, whatever happened. and took advantage when other people had issues, whereas Lewis got caught in traffic quite often because qualifying on his way. And then since the second half, we've had, like, since Monaco, there's been 2/3 podiums. Yes, a disqualification, but 2 podiums, a retirement, an 8 for 4, and then 3 top 4s. Not bad. I mean, Mercedes has improved, so that helps.
And a DQ.
Yeah, and the DQ, which obviously was meant to be a win. Whereas Lewis has been Mr. Consistent, never outside the top 4, apart from the sprint race in Austria, where he's 6th. And yeah, okay, you can say in Austria there's a collision, but he still had, he still finished behind Max that day. Sorry, Lewis finished. No, he didn't finish behind Max. He finished just ahead of Max, whereas and George went on to win it. But it's a difficult one. I'm like you. I'm edging towards a B, but like literally, yet again, the lines would be, if this was a school report as we do it, it would be tries hard, maybe pushes it over the edge at times, just needs to wind it back at the correct moments, I would say. He needs to realise when the correct moment is and not go charging in and try and be the team leader when, right now, the two of them need to work together to keep this momentum going for Mercedes. So right now, I think if we're going George Russell, that means, there we go, up into third place, bloody hell, B in the results. And if you have missed any of the show so far, that is currently what we've rated. So Max Verstappen with A, George Russell with B, and F for Sergio Perez's season so far, which we've said could be a little bit harsh because of the start he had, but he wouldn't be higher than E anyway.
Sorry. Mr. Magpie said it's a little harsh. I said it's perfect and he shouldn't be graded. The words of a little bit harsh are strictly the words of Mr. Magpie. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, okay. Next up, we will move on to George Russell's teammate. Oh, we both clipped that at the same time. Lewis Hamilton, the 7 times world champion, finally getting back on his feet this season. Yes, the season started exactly how last season started. We were there thinking Lewis is struggling. He's not quite getting to grips. But then his race pace was good. He just got stuck in traffic.
Especially towards the second half of the race. It was Lando Norris-esque where that second/third stint in races, he would tend to find himself the second quickest car on the track. The problem is he was the quickest car on the track behind Yuki Tsunoda in 8th place, 7th place. And it's like, that pace is brilliant, but you're not challenging. And I think we all saw the emotion in Silverstone.
Yeah.
How much that win sort of meant to him, the belief that came off his shoulders. And this is a man that was still scoring podiums at a semi-consistent basis. And I think from there he's very much found that old essence of Lewis Hamilton, the ruthless killer between slightly exaggerated saying 2014, 2015, but the 7-time world champion, the record race winner, the man that once he got to the front, it was very, very difficult to catch him. If you were rating, and he's the opposite of George, if you were rating on the first half of the season, you're very much going C, potentially a D, and sort of stronger question as to whether he has the hunger and drive anymore. But this second half of the first half of the season, he's probably been especially the last 4 races, he's probably been the best driver on the grid. That Lewis 2021, that 1A, 1B to Max Verstappen, if you judge him on that, he's an A. So I averaged out to a B in the end. just because you can't overlook that how bad that first half of the season is. However, if we have the Lewis that we've had in the last 4 races, then this season could get very interesting for Mercedes and just generally. We'll have another person fight up there fighting for wins, fighting for title, not fighting for the title, but definitely fighting for wins.
Yeah, I again, I'll have to echo their sentiments. First half of the season, a little bit iffy. Obviously, the second place in the sprint race at China, and to a point, his sixth place in Miami. That second half pace was just up with everybody else, and it just showed that he could do it. It was just for whatever reason, that car wasn't reacting with him. Maybe it's a high fuel load. Maybe it seemed to like cold temperatures as well, which obviously in Miami you don't get. But yeah, second half of the season, since Canada, fourth, maybe should have been a podium there. Third in Spain, fourth in Austria, first in Britain, third in Hungary, first in Belgium. Again, probably could have won another race or two there. He's now sixth in the World Championship, well clear of George Russell. Obviously, disqualification helps, but he was still ahead. He's now snapping at the heels of Carlos Sainz. He's about 12 points behind, which puts him 17 points behind Oscar Piastri, who, let's remember, is in what is the quickest car generally now.
And he's only 27 points behind Charles Leclerc in third place.
Yeah, he's just over a win behind Charles Leclerc. So, what were you going to grade him now?
I went with a B. I averaged out his sort of first half to this first half versus second half, and it averaged out to a B.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It's very hard. If we went second half of the season, he would be in the A's. No doubt about it. But just because of that slow start and that qualifying pace wasn't quite there, I think leaving him down there is probably the best option. So my mouse is on the other screen.
That's okay. Let's swiftly move on to the team he will be moving to and driving for next season.
Yeah.
And his teammate next season.
Yeah, Charles Leclerc. I don't mind going first on this one.
Yeah,
so give Wajid a bit of a rest. Charles Leclerc, fourth, third, second, fourth, third, first. Retired fifth, 11th and 14th when Ferrari just went missing in Austria. God knows what happened to him. Fourth, third. So, I mean, if we were running in a championship of consistency, Charles Leclerc is there. And that it's weird. That Ferrari seems to have an outright pace on a lap to get a pole position or two. But it just doesn't seem to have an outright race pace. Even though in Monaco, obviously, Leclerc got the win. And the surprise win in Australia for Carlos Sainz just made you think, oh, hello, Ferrari are about. Now, I've said it consistently. I think if Lewis Hamilton was in that car this year, it'd have a bit more pace about him. It'd probably be up there with Lando in the points. And we'd be talking about a different Ferrari. Right now, are we talking about a Ferrari which is a little bit a little bit flat? It's quick enough, but it has to take advantage of others' mistakes. And I think that's where it is.
I feel like, sorry, apologies, as I have to put my
my
laptop on charger. It feels like the Ferrari team geared up their entire season to Monaco to get Leclerc the win, and after that they've gone, well, our season's over, we're done. I can't buy that the Ferrari's temperamental. Yeah, okay, they've gone down the wrong development. They may have gone down the wrong development route, but this is a team after Monaco that they were less than a race win behind the Red Bulls in the Constructors' Championship, and we were talking about at the time people were talking about a genuine three-way fight between Ferrari, McLaren, and Red Bull, and for whatever reason, it's just not happened. In terms of the one lap place, I think Charles Leclerc is probably the quickest one-lap guy on the grid at this moment in time, just because of what he seems to get out of the Ferrari. I just think both him and Sainz just constantly there's that 5% in terms of consistency that they just seem to lack, whether it's race pace or confidence or whatever else. I think the Ferrari needs is you need to wring the neck of the Ferrari to get the ultimate performance. And I just think I think with Science it's because he's leaving and he doesn't care. And I think Leclerc is going to be a better driver and a more ruthless driver with Lewis as his teammate next year. And I think that might bring that extra 4-5% that Leclerc ultimately needs to be a future world champion. Because I do see a future world champion in him. He just needs to. It's just the same silly mistakes. It's the same. It's just the lack of cutting edge that Leclerc seems to have, and Ferrari seem to have at this moment in time. So, with all that being said, I did ultimately, surprisingly, I finished at an A for him, just because I also think he's getting the best out of the Ferrari that he could. The Belgian Grand Prix was a much true to form race. Yes, it's another pole he didn't convert. That's what the stats will say. But he did his best to hold off a charging Oscar Piastri. He comfortably kept Checo behind him, and if it wasn't for the one stop, Russell finishing first on the road and stuff, he was going to get the podium anyway. And I said A, but now as I speak, yeah, it's probably a B. A is probably a B, to be honest, just given how he's fallen off in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I've got him. Yeah, I would say a B is fair. I do think he's done, dare I say, it slightly better than George because of the equipment he's got. And George, could have took a bit more advantage of what he's got under him. But a couple of pole positions for Charles Leclerc, a couple of how many podiums? One win, a second place, and 4 third places. So, and he's only 22 points off Lando Norris, so he is there or thereabouts. It's just like you say, that cutting edge of the Ferrari just needs to be found, and that is also why we believe Adrian Newey is now going to Aston Martin if he is going to join a team, because Newey wants a lot of say in who comes into the team, whereas Fred Vasseur has literally gone to Ferrari to be able to be in control. So it's ironic that he would sign a designer, and I think it's a shrewd move. While Adrian Newey is brilliant, the amount of issues it caused at McLaren because he wanted a tight packaging and Mercedes couldn't build the engine to go round it, reliability issues you can get with the tight packaging and stuff. It's just, I would prefer to have 2 or 3 engineers in who are good enough to do the job than just Adrian Newey coming in himself. So
Regardless of how good it is.
Yeah, regardless of that. And also, I think he wants to stay in Britain anyway, so I think that's why Aston Martin looks like the expected place. Carlos Sainz. I'll let you go first.
If you give him the first 4 races of the season, he's the best driver on the grid. After that, he's just no-showed. That's a man who's checked. I want to say checked out, but I think he's been very, very unlucky given his contract situation. But I think I'm one of the few people that would never rate Carlos Sainz as highly as other people. And here we are again, midway through the season, and even how strong he started, he's still been outperformed by Charles Leclerc. Now, everyone's saying it's a big test for Albon at Williams next season. I think it's a bigger test for Sainz because, he has consistently been beaten by Leclerc. He's taken a step back, and I think Alex Albon's a good measuring stick for him because both of them are in the sort of Ocon Gasly conundrum, which is they're good drivers that just don't have the space isn't there in a good team, and they're auditioning to go back to a bigger spot. So yeah,
Could you not say? I mean, let's put it this way. Right now, Carlos Sainz is 15 points behind Leclerc. He withdrew from Saudi, where Leclerc finished third, which is 15 points. Well, he got 16 because he got fastest lap. So I get where you're saying he's been a bit lackluster, but in terms of performance, yes, but in terms of results, he's been very much there with Leclerc.
Yeah, but you also need to think when some of the strategies that Ferrari have put Charles Leclerc on. Britain, for example, they stuck him on the interiors when it was still dry.
Yeah.
Was it? What's the other one? No, it wasn't Belgium. There was somewhere else. Was it Hungary?
Austria was miles back as well,
yeah,
but
Austria,
so
yeah, Austria. But that's because he didn't. That's because he didn't qualify. I think something happened in qualifying and stuff. But Ferrari have given Leclerc out of the box completely strange strategies, which has allowed Sainz to sort of claw his way back. Yes, he missed a race with appendicitis, but let's see. I just want to see his results from.
Carlos Sainz has had third withdrawn, first, third. So you go in, hey, and it's fifth, including 2 fifths in the sprint races there. Third, retired, sixth, third, fifth in the sprint race, fifth, sixth.
Yeah, so I mean, he's consistently been, the third best driver. Fifth, sixth. Sorry, but
yeah,
I just he's, but ultimately, give him an extra. What's he currently on? 162. He's 15 points behind Leclerc. All right, cool. Give him an extra 12 points or whatever, because that's around where he's finishing. He's still behind Leclerc given how he started. No one has ever talked about Carlos Sainz. The thing for me is when we've talked about a three-way fight, who are the 3 names that have been mentioned? Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc. No one has ever seen Carlos Sainz as the Ferrari challenger to the world title, and that's ultimately what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, I can understand that one. For me, I think he's done a good job. I think he's done a decent job. Let's say he's wrung the neck of that, and like you say, when he's been in Ferrari, he has been very much a driver who goes, yes, this is strategy. He's called for strategy more than I think he's brought it out of Charles Leclerc to call for strategy as well now. Yeah. Charles was very much, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. They tell you pit, you come in. Sainz gets told pit, he goes, hang on a minute, it's only lap 1. Definitely, I think a very good signing for Williams. I feel like he hung on a bit too long. I think he could have got a better drive than Williams' Sainz, but it's the first time I think since you're probably looking Massa and Bottas since you said Williams have a decent 2-driver lineup or a good 2-driver lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, Kubica wasn't the Kubica who came back, or that him and Russell would have been very good, but that car was a Formula 2 car. Well, not even that. So yeah, what we saying for Sainz yourself?
I went C.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I've got him down in C, as you can see there. And I think it is almost like Leclerc, except for Leclerc can break through and get that pole position, whereas Sainz needs the car to just be that little bit better before he does.
He needs the car to be perfect.
Yeah. But we know world champions have that before, like Jenson Button and stuff. So, and it took Jenson Button from 2000 till 2009 to win a world title with a bit of luck as well. So
it took a double diffuser.
Yeah. So who knows?
People forget how that second. A lot of people forget because he was so far ahead how that second half of the season went, and I think he's very grateful that there was only 17, 18 races, that not 24 cars.
Yeah.
History
we've got
history would be very different. I was just going to say history would be very different than it was.
Well, we've gone through the top few teams so far. So as you say, we've got Max Verstappen in first. In A. B, we've got Lewis, Leclerc, and Russell. We've got Sainz in C and Perez in F. So next up, we're going to go for the team that we probably expected to compete this year because of how they got on, but haven't. And that's Aston Martin. So first up, we have our old piece of furniture in the paddock. Never goes away, always there. I'd say always dependable, but debatable on that one. We've got Fernando Alonso. Now, we know he signed a contract for the future, so he's meant to be staying. Whether he does will probably depend on if Newey turns up. Newey and Alonso trying to come up with a car, though, I see that going more explosive.
That's going left. That is going left.
Yeah, because I can very much predict Newey wants to go that way and Alonso wants to go that way with it. So we will see. But Fernando Alonso, 2024, we're talking about.
I'm going to give Fernando the same effort he's given this season. It's a D. Thanks. I've got nothing else. Got nothing else to say, except if Newey designs the car, and he gets a car that's at the front, then it's time to put up and shut up Fernando. Let's see. Everyone still raves about this man as if he's one of the top echelon drivers. He's not.
I mean, the season didn't start too badly. Top 10s for the first 6 races. Then Imola just went downhill. It's very much with Fernando. If the car has something, he can drag a little bit more out of it and get something, which is where he got his second places and stuff like that last season. But then when the car's not there and he's stuck in the midfield, you're not going to see him trying to carve his way through unless he's got a huge tyre advantage.
Do you think Aston Martin still look back at Monaco and regret the tyre decision?
Oh, they certainly do regret that tyre decision. But then again, a very good one-stop strategy in Belgium without being disqualified. Take note, Mercedes puts Fernando 8th and scores him some more points. So it's a good start. I just want to say thank you for following the channel, Timichik, one of the two. Anyway, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. We're only 2 followers away from 400 on Twitch. So if you are watching and you want to follow, feel free. We are live on YouTube and Twitch. So subscribe over there as well if you want to. It'd be very much appreciated. But Fernando, back to him. I think if he's in a fight for a win with an equal car, he's in there. If he's at like a 10th off, he might be able to find it. He is that good. But is he the guy who will find you half a second? Not anymore. Not anymore. And if the car's slightly off pace, he will lose his mojo very quickly.
I do just want to add quickly before we grade. Everyone talks about Fernando as someone who should have won more championships, has been unlucky, etc., etc. I mean, history is remembering, because he's an elder statesman and he's not the super ass he was in his younger years. History is being very kind to Fernando. Let's not forget, he's the one that burned the bridge at McLaren in 2007 because of equal treatment. He's the one that left Ferrari because of the way he thought Ferrari was going. He has burnt bridges wherever he's gone. It's not a case of he's not had the opportunity to win world titles. Yes, 2012 arguably it probably is his greatest season because of where he dragged that Ferrari. Let's be honest, but let's not make out that this man has not had multiple opportunities since 2006 to win a world title. Like, I think history for one reason or another is much kinder on Alonso than it should be.
Yeah, he's and this is why we think if Newey goes there, it could be very much fireworks and maybe even Fernando not being in the team by mid-season.
Yep,
you know, it could be that bad. But
like I said, ultimately I've graded him a D. Dev, I don't know what you've said.
I've personally said a D as well. I just think it's definitely one of them where Fernando could do a lot better, but he doesn't. And especially, you know, the team want to see him drag them performances out of the car, even when the car's not good enough. And we don't see that enough now. And that shows by the second half of this season when he's dragging it to, well, I say dragging it. Let's put it this way. He's pretty much being followed by Stroll for the rest in the whole season. And for 49 points to 24 in terms of the two drivers, yes, he's dominating Stroll in terms of points, but they've all come at the start of the season. The rest of the time, Stroll's been pretty close to him.
Well, since you're speaking about Daddy's team, let's talk about the kid wonder himself. I mean, I don't have much to say to him. I don't think he should be. I don't think he's good enough to be on the grid still. And I gave him a D as well because, to be honest, there really hasn't much to split Fernando and Lance during the second third of during the second third
of the first half of the second half of the season.
Yeah, but thanks, mate. But yeah, Aston Martin as an outfit compared to where they were last season have been totally underwhelming. Where they could have potentially been to where they are now, yeah, okay, cool. In that sense, you kind of feel sorry for the drivers, but you know, both those drivers have been incredibly underwhelming. Lance Stroll, I don't think is good enough for a drive, and you know that's as much effort as I want to give Aston until Adrian Newey signs the dotted line and they become interesting again.
Yeah, I go on.
No, I was just gonna say yourself, but as I finish my rant.
Yeah, I think Aston Martin can go places. Can they go places under Lance Stroll? Not too sure. I think he's very much, you know, I don't get me wrong, what he's done for that team has been pretty much, apart from getting it out of the trouble with Vijay Mallya, he's done exactly what Vijay Mallya has done with it in terms of progress. You know, Vijay got that team off the back of the grid and scoring podiums. Should have scored a win in Spa, except for, well, it wasn't even for Raikkonen. It was because of Kurz that they didn't win in Spa. Put it on the front row, consistently scoring points. Whereas, where has Lawrence really took it? Like last season, they put him onto podiums in terms of Aston Martin in general.
They've got a nice factory.
Yeah, I get that that's a bit of a distraction, and let's be honest, it needed doing. It was still the same factory as Jordan, and Eddie did a great job out of that place. But have Aston Martin, Force India, Racing Point actually done any more than EJ did with no money in a time when you've got to remember that was spend what you want. And EJ put that team in a championship winning position in 1999. They should have at least took it to the final round. But Frenson's Nürburgring switch didn't quite work. But yeah, and then seasons onwards, they just almost got a little bit too cocky for themselves. But they're constantly podiums, and that's where this team should be, especially with the backing of Lawrence Stroll, and that we know the mechanics in there are good enough with a small budget or a smallish budget to do as good as the other teams. So why are we saying they're not good enough? I mean, I know there's changeover and people, but there's still a lot of people there who were Jordan people. Why can they not be consistent in a budget cap era when, I mean, let's put it this way, Damon Hill in 1999 was worse than Lance Stroll was this season. That's the honest truth. He didn't qualify for a couple of races, even though they lay him on the grid. You know, Damon Hill had a shocker in 99, but they still had a car that was there for the World Championship. Lance Stroll, I would say, dare I say it, this is the closest he's been to Fernando Alonso. Now, is that because Fernando's dropped? Is that because he's got better? I don't know. But what I will say...
Lance Stroll's definitely not got better.
Can I say Lance Stroll shouldn't be on the Formula One grid? No, I can't say that because there's others that shouldn't be on. He can drive, he can pedal. He's an F3 champion, FIA F3 champion. He can pedal a car pretty quick. Is he interested? Does he have enough interest in Formula One? Or is he more there because... I'm not saying he doesn't like racing and driving, but I think he's very much like Kimi. He doesn't care about everything else. And he just wants to drive the car. But is he there because he chose to be in Formula One, or is he there because Daddy said, here's a sport, go do it? Not sure. We never know that one. But I think he's had a decent season. I think it's more D for decent with Lance Stroll. He's a very good race pace. He really needs to sort out qualifying, especially when it's not wet. And if he sorted out qualifying, I honestly think he'd be beating Fernando Alonso this season.
I do as well, but is Fernando Alonso the measuring stick? Is a 41-year-old on the super back end of his career? You're measuring stick, because if it is, then you know.
Well, if it was, and Fernando was leaving, the next person in the car would be Lewis Hamilton, because he's had Vettel, he's had Alonso.
And lost.
Yeah, he's lost, but he should be losing. No disrespect.
We are giving this way too much time.
I get it, but I just want to say I think Lance Stroll is probably having one of his best seasons in Formula One. Do I think he deserves next season?
And he should still be off the grid.
Does he deserve next season?
No.
Possibly not. But is there anybody to come in who does deserve it?
Drugovich.
No. I don't know. Drugovich took a long time to win the championship.
Still won it.
Yeah.
He still has it.
But what would I do?
He still has a championship and a higher formula than Lance Stroll does.
Yeah, but what would I do? Yeah, so did Julian Palmer.
And Julian Palmer lost his job because he was crap.
I would honestly say with this that I would put, if I was Aston Martin, and we're not doing this video yet, but if I was Aston Martin, I would put Stroll and Drugovich in. Winner takes all.
If I was Aston Martin, I would put in Fernando and Drugovich and do a comparison. But
anyway, we'll move on.
Let's move on, and I'm going to give Mr. Magpie the floor to, apparently a driver who has a lot to say, who has more to say about Lewis Hamilton than Max Verstappen does.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I think. Let's see. Where did I put Lando? There he is with his funny haircut. I think it's a difficult one. I think it is an A for Lando. I think he's stepped up this season. I think he's produced better results than he could. He should have probably won races, but he's new to this running at the front and running strong positions. And I think it's definitely, personally, I think it's an A because he has been let down by the team at times, not just let down by himself. There has been times, but he's very critical of himself. So he's willing to say so. And that's why I think it's an A. Yourself, Wajid?
Lando, I think you've learned that just because you have the quickest car doesn't mean you win all the time. Uh, I have been massively disappointed in Lando Norris this season. I don't think people can be very, very surprised in my grading. I think that I think
Hang on, I got my tin hat down it. Actually, I might just use my hand. Carry on.
Lando Norris is talking. Lando Norris has done more talking off the track than he's done win races on the track. He has less the wins than Lewis Hamilton in a car that's the quickest car on the grid, and he loves talking. And I'm gonna mention it. This man said, "Oh well, when you have the quickest car, you should be winning all the time." Well, Lando, where's the wins? Finish behind your teammate. Finish behind your teammate in Hungary. You bottled it. You bottled it in Great Britain. You bottled it in Great Britain. Cool. Do you know what? I will let Austria sort of slide. I will let Austria sort of slide. Spain, you should have won. Canada, you should have won. Hell, even Imola, you should have won. Belgium, okay, cool. You didn't qualify well enough. Fine, I'll give you that. So what? That's Hungary. Hungary should have had a win. Britain, you should have had a win. So that's 2. Spain, you should have won. That's 3. Canada, you should have won. That's 4. Monaco, okay, fine, whatever. And Imola, you should have won. So you should have 6 race wins to your name. You have 1. Shut up. Get on with it.
I will throw out there Hungary team kind of jumped in there.
No, because if not really, because if the team did what they were supposed to do, that's the team's fault. That's the team's fault. Because if they did what every other team does and give the first driver the first option, you don't have that. You don't have that faff. So they miscalculated and whatever else. Like all that drama aside, all that drama aside. Shut up. Get on with it. Let's see how good you are.
Yeah, I can see that point from Matthew Graham Racing. Thanks, Matt, for tuning in. In my opinion, he's a button. Multiple world champion are probably unlikely. Multiple world championships are probably unlikely. He's more reliant on winning when he has a better car, which could be an outlier. Yes, it could be an outlier. And I completely agree with your original comments about, when you've got a world championship, you've got to take it. And that's completely the way it is. So the more I think about it, I would be willing to say a B, because that has been issues by the team. But I totally agree that it's not an
A. I was a B/C, but the more I think about it, it's a C. It's his fault about the start in Hungary because he was on pole.
Yeah.
Britain was 50-50 because of the tyre choices. I lean more towards McLaren because they were there discussing when they should have made the tyre choice. Imola, he drove so conservatively that he had to claw the gap back to Max for when he could have had when there was more speed in the tire.
Yeah.
There was more speed in the car. Monaco final. Canada, he was 11 seconds up the road, but then even after the safety car, he looked nowhere near Max. And that wasn't Canada's not a place where you need to be ahead. Like Canada's overtaking. Spain, he made the mistake of pole position again. He got the bad start down the run, and he ended up behind George Russell. Which lost him the time. Austria, and like I said, Austria, you can take the overtake. So, okay, cool. 1, maybe 2 mistakes from McLaren. The rest have been Lando. It's a C for me.
Okay, pop your ideas in chat. At the moment, we're about to do Piastri. So at the moment, we've got him in. We've got Lando in C for Wajid, B for me. Pop your ideas in chat. Let us know what you think it should be. Obviously, Matt Graham's already said a C. So let us know what you think, and then what chat decides is where he will end up. But the floor is yours for Oscar Piastri, who, just to remind everybody, has had 8th, 4th, 4th, 8th, 8th, 13th, 4th, 2nd, 5th, 7th, 2nd, 4th, 1st, and 2nd. Wajid, over to you.
He's been more consistent than last season. I don't think he expected to be in the level of car he is this season. Have some of his performance been disappointing? Yeah, absolutely. But when he's found the pace and he's found the car, he has been there. Again, arguably, should have won it. Should have won in Belgium. He did win in Hungary. All that, woe is me stuff aside, he dominated the race. He controlled the race. It was McLaren that caused all that faff. It wasn't him. He was going to win regardless. His teammate wasn't good enough. He probably should have been the one to pick up the pieces in Austria. I think he qualified fairly poorly, then couldn't get past Sainz, and then he tried hunting down Russell. There just wasn't enough time. Spain and Canada, he was like nowhere, to be honest. And then in Monaco, if he gets a slightly better start, he beats Leclerc. But it's all about qualifying, where he did out qualify his teammate. He will be playing second fiddle for the second half of the season. He's got his race win. He is now the support to Lando Norris. He's beaten his duck, and to be honest, I think him being in his second season, he's outperforming the where I would put him to. So I gave him a B stroke A. Yes, Lando's ahead of him in the championship and stuff, but Lando's made far bigger mistakes, in my opinion, that have been more critical in a world title race than Oscar has, because none of us expected Oscar to be in a world title race.
Yeah, I would agree with a high B stroke A, because Oscar has performed, especially later on, but I think his early season stuff wasn't great. We think about China, where Lando finishes second, Oscar finishes 8th, Japan 8th, Bahrain 8th. Lando was only 6th in Bahrain anyway, but I just think Piastri, if he'd had a better start to the season, then I would give him an A. I think right now, if I had to perform him, he's performing on an A, no doubt about it. He probably should have won in Spa. If he hadn't overshot his pit stop, he probably would have won in Spa, but he didn't. And also, second season, okay, we're not meant to judge people on this, but remember, Lewis Hamilton went and won a championship in his second season. It's second season in Formula One. Fernando Alonso went and won a race in a Renault. It's not like Piastri's had a slow car like Alonso had a Minardi. That kind of thing. Kimi Räikkönen jumped up from a Sauber to a McLaren, so he needed a couple of years before he won a race. All this expectation that Piastri was going to come in and dominate, I think was a little bit too far of a...
I forgot about that.
Yeah, people saying, Piastri will come in and he'll dominate and whatever, was a little bit too far. But I do think, as I say, we will agree on Oscar Piastri being... I think we'll put him there, just ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Lando has done better than Carlos, of course. I think we'll leave him in C for now and see how the rest turns up, because we can't put everybody in B. We'll have a very long line and the screen's only so big. But
I think we should speed across with the second half. I think everyone's seen what they wanted to see, and we should just speed across.
Yeah, we will get through these ones a little bit quicker. What I'm going to start with, though, is the Sauber stroke Audi team and Valtteri Bottas. Very questionable season by Sauber altogether. I'm not even sure why they've turned up at times. But actually, Valtteri Bottas is currently 21st in a 20-car championship. Everybody gave Nick de Vries grief for that. Valtteri Bottas is there, yet he's the one probably looking at keeping his seat in Formula One. Only because, let me just check. Yes, he's behind Zhou Guanyu because of Zhou Guanyu's 11th place in Bahrain.
I mean, Bottas has outperformed Zhou majority of the season. I'm gonna get into Guanyu Zhou and that fact of celebrating 14th place at China. I thing is, I really don't have much to say on Sauber. Bottas is in his Raikkonen period, which is if he's there, he's happy. If he's there, great. If he's not there, he'll probably go do something else. But Sauber as a whole, they are just counting down the days till that Audi merger happens because that car is pathetic.
It's feeling very Ericsson, Nazir, Blue Sauber period of just survive.
Yeah, it's got that 2020 Haas feeling, 2021 Haas feeling, which is the car was just there. Let's just hope. Let's just drag to next season. I think I gave Bottas a C, because at times he has dragged what is a tractor up the field. It's not the level of tractor that the Williams was the last couple of years, but he is 21st in a 20-man championship.
Yeah.
20-man championship, so.
Personally, I've gone C. I think he has been more consistent than Zhou. Obviously, Zhou has pulled a couple of results out, an 11th and a 13th. Valtteri's had a couple of 13ths at least, but then he's had a couple of 14ths, a couple of 15ths, a couple of 16ths. So it's not like I can't believe we're actually discussing this, but it is a situation where I think he's done an okay job in a dog of a car, but that Audi are actually looking at Bottas and saying, "Do we keep Bottas for 2025?" It says to me that Sauber and Audi are not working together as a partnership to go, right, we need to stick somebody in the car to get him ready for 2026. And sticking Hulkenberg and Bottas together is just a safe option.
Because, as we'll know, skipped it, this man's been pathetic this year. This man has been...
I think the first couple of races, he looked okay. He did look okay.
Arguably, if it wasn't for Checo, I'd be saying Guanyu Zhou's been the worst driver on the grid.
He has been very, especially near this end of the season, where you're questioning your. His best performance, I think, apart from Bahrain, was 13th in Spain. I do remember him sniffing at points there, but the last four races, he's just been nowhere.
So in Belgium, he retired. He retired in Hungary.
19th.
He was 19th. In
18th,
Britain,
17th.
He was 18th, and in Austria he was 17th. Bear in mind, Lando finished. Lando says it finished 7 laps down, but he retired.
Yeah.
Sargent was just pathetic, and I think did Alonso have contact or something in the early race. So you got your moment in China, I guess, where for the first time ever I've seen someone finish 14th get celebrated like they won a race, which is the single most pathetic thing I've ever seen in Liberty Media. That's why Liberty Media need to get out of F1 because of stupidness like that.
Yeah.
This is his third season now. He's not kicked on. There's no improvement. Okay, you're beating Bottas because you have a higher race finish, but both David and I and Sahi going, we wouldn't keep Zhou.
I'll say it out loud. I am so disappointed in him. Whether it's the car, whether it's him, I don't know. But he's not been able to push on as I expected, and I think, like you probably agree, it's down with the Sergio Perez in this.
That's why I give.
I've given Bottas a D. I feel like a C might be a bit high considering he hasn't tracked a point out of the car.
No, George, that's fair. I gave him a C because I was debating between a C and a D, and I didn't want to be known as harsh marking as I normally am on this, so that's why I probably pushed it. But,
we need to put a fraud list on your cupboard behind you. Next up is a driver which, let's be honest, 4 years ago we didn't think we were going to be talking about. We didn't think he'd be in Formula One, probably doing WEC and winning plenty of things in WEC, but Nico Hulkenberg. We've both clicked at the same time. There we go. So Nico Hulkenberg.
Arguably, he's the driver of the season so far, in my opinion, given the performances he had in that Haas. He shot me up. He's fully shot me up because I said this man shouldn't be on the grid again, and he has dragged that Haas. Yes, he has had major assists, given if Kevin Magnussen was driving on the roads like that in the UK, he'd have been disqualified. But,
I wouldn't state that he would have been disqualified because there's people on the road, sadly, that drive like that. But
yeah, well, I mean, that performance he gave in Austria. I think what was it? He was fourth in the sprint, and I believe sixth on pure pace.
No, just sixth in the race in Austria.
Oh no, there was a sprint as well in Austria, wasn't there?
There's a sprint in Austria. Hang on, He qualified 17th for the sprint, finished 19th in the sprint, but he qualified 9th and finished 6th in the race.
I'm getting my years mixed up. But arguably for me, he's been the driver. He's been the driver of the season so far. To be perfectly honest, very, very well justified in getting that Audi seat. And it's a big, fat, shiny A for me.
Yeah, it's an A for me for Nico Hulkenberg. I mean, he's bookended this for half of the season with a 16th and an 18th. But this is a consistency from the bloke. 10th, 9th, 11th, 10th, 11th, 11th, retired, 11th, 11th, 6th, 6th, 13th. I mean, dragging 2 6th places in a row. I mean, I actually think his Britain performance was better than his Austria performance, because obviously in Austria you did have the collision which put Lando Norris out, and a great performance from him in a Haas which has improved. It is not the tyre muncher it was last season, and a very good signing for Audi. I said it when he did it. And he going to that midfield team and having his expertise is just what they need.
And I mean, just a quick mention of Haas. There were eyebrows raised when they got rid of Gunter Steiner at the start of the season, but they looked justified in their decision at the team principal. I forget the gentleman's name, unfortunately, so I do apologize. But
it's on the side of one of the cars. Yeah. It's on the side of Williams.
But fair play to him. Yeah, Gunter is more entertaining for you Netflix fans and stuff like that. But I mean, Haas have definitely become a more serious outfit with the change. I think it's more than justified. Probably what isn't justified for next season is keeping this man on the track.
Yeah, I will say one thing very quickly on Steiner though. He is a very good designer. As a team principal, his results are not great. He was team principal at Jaguar. We know what that went like. He was team principal at Haas. He's not a team. Maybe he's just better as a designer. But anyway,
this is a man who doesn't have. Does he have a drive? Is he Haas's second driver next year?
No, because it's Ocon and Behrman.
And Behrman, yeah. So he doesn't have a drive next year. He was happy to be back when Haas dragged him out of the wilderness. And thanks very much, K-Mag, and see you later.
Yeah, I think he's turned up and he's done okay. He's got a couple of point results, but obviously Hulkenberg has white floor with him. But it's been good for Haas to have 2 experienced drivers to develop that car after having, what was it, Schumacher, Mazepin, and they've always struggled to sign two good drivers, and this is probably the first time they've had two drivers who aren't going to slam it into a wall all the time. Grosjean and K-Mag wasn't a bad solution, but Grosjean was very prone to getting into incidents, and K-Mag followed him. Whereas I feel like it's been a nice, calm influence to develop this car, and that's the reason we've been able to do tyre wear. Yes, K-Mag, he's been off the boil for whatever reason, but I do think he's not that Kevin Magnussen who came in and took a podium on his debut. Don't get me wrong. But he is a K-Mag who could do a decent job if he got the motivation. So that's why I think I see him going IndyCar or WEC and doing a really good job for the team.
Yeah. He's still a good enough driver, just probably not at Formula 1 level. He's had his time. He's had a very, very good run. Been a brilliant server for Haas. Like you said, was probably very unlucky that first race was his only podium in his entire career.
Yeah.
Because he probably thought, what a start. The only way is up, and it just for whatever reason it hasn't happened. I give him a C. It's been borderline.
Did you?
Yes. Well,
you got a D.
I gave him a D, but as I've sat and thought about it, I've pushed it to a C. It's been some borderline good performances, but ultimately he's just had his ass kicked by his teammate.
Yeah, I would personally say just a D. I feel like if we set out a thing where Lando Norris and Kevin Magnussen have scored the same for this season,
yeah, okay, do you want to drop it to a D?
which actually means we have nobody in E yet, which is interesting. I don't think we either did. We either will do, but certainly that is that position. Well, next up,
no. I know you're gonna. I know you click on the first driver, but let's click on the easy rating. F.
Okay.
End of. Thanks for playing. See you later. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. That's all I've got to say on him. Mr. Magpie.
I have a little bit more. I've said this before, and I know you don't agree with me in this. I don't want to see that ad. So it's giving me an ad, and I don't want it. Logan Sargent, not the greatest of first seasons. Very kind of weak and things like that. But there was a couple of flashes of speed and stuff like that. And this season, it's took him a while to get into it. Obviously, he withdrew from Australia because which is a huge knock to confidence. When your teammate crashes his car and turns around and goes, "Can I have yours?" No, fuck off. What are you on about? But I'm afraid it was the right decision for Williams. Recently, he got the 11th in Britain. Probably should have got a point that day. And yes, his results don't look great. 20th, 19th, 11th, 17th, things like that. But the pace has been there. And sometimes it's just been the strategy that's not been right for him. He hasn't been able to play it. And he hasn't got I'm not saying he's got some pace like Alonso when he was in a Minardi. I'm not talking that. I'm talking more, it's a Sargent where could he be good enough if the car was better? Possibly. Could he be good enough if he was actually given some confidence by Williams? Possibly. But I feel like ever since about halfway through last season, it's just been, Logan, you're not really going to be here, so let's just concentrate on Albon.
We already have enough American races. We don't need a crappy American on the grid. And that's literally I'm not getting into this. He's not good enough. Not good enough. Wasn't good enough last season. Not good enough this season.
I'm not saying he's been good enough.
Oh, say, can you see
but
the exit on the way out? Bye and piss off.
I will tell you one thing. I will be interested if the rumours are true and he goes to IndyCar with Prema. I want to see how he competes there, especially with a brand new team.
Shall we put a friendly tempo on bet that I don't think he's anywhere near the championship.
I'm not saying he'll be near the championship, But, you know, we've got people like Ericsson, took a year, got into it, won the Indy 500, now looks like a brilliant signing for any IndyCar team. Grosjean, who all of a sudden doesn't have a teammate because they got fed up of all the comments with Canapino. So that's an interesting one, but that's for another day. So for me, Logan's been better than Joe, and for me, Logan's been slightly better than Sergio Perez.
Okay, are you giving him an E then, or is he an F?
No, I'm still gonna, because he hasn't managed to get that point, and I do think there may be still a point in him this season.
Even Nicholas Latifi scored a point in the Williams.
Yeah, Sargent did, but not this season.
Even Nicholas Latifi was a consistent.
Now, the driver that everybody turns around and says is the next big thing, or what? Sorry, that's Sargent, that's Albon. I should let you do this bit. It's a lot easier. Alex Albon. Oh, hang on. No, I'm moving. What am I doing? Right. So we're going to move on. Yes, Alex Albon. Now, Alex has dragged the Williams team forward, been an absolute star for Williams, promoted Williams in the right way. He's got results for Williams. Yes, the Williams hasn't been the rocket ship it was previously, but Alex Albon, last of the championship scorers. And I'll be honest, for me, with Alex Albon, it's a C or a D this season. He has not kicked on with that. That car is better than last season's, yet he has not kicked on and consistently scored points. And that's what I'm disappointed about. There's been too many times he's been hovering 11th and 12th.
Is it better than last season's? It's not better than the RB Visa MasterCard Amex double points win prizes.
It's a better car.
It's not better than the
all
Haas.
round.
It's not better than the Haas. It's not better than the Aston. Probably the only car is better than consistently is the Sauber. I think it'd be harsh.
I would be willing to go to a C.
I won't will be. Chat, obviously, we'll leave it to you guys. Put your comments in, say what you see and all that. I think he's dragged. Yeah, the Williams has come on, but I don't think the Williams is, improved as much as you're making out. I just think now we as a bunch of race fans have a higher expectation of Alex Albon than.
That's why I'm going for a C, because I expect more from him.
Well, next season's a massive measuring the barometer stick for him, isn't it? He's got a race winner in the car next to him. They're both competing for those upper drives and things like that. I think, I'm waiting till next season. But I give him a B. You gave him a.
I think a C, because he would be a B if there's just a couple of results where he's sitting in 10th and he keeps it. But there's been too many times he's got to like 11th and 10th and it looks like, oh, here comes a point for Williams. It just drops back. That's all. Little things, Alex. Little things. We'll move on.
I'm happy to say that. Speaking of F1's favorite cash app.
Yeah. Daniel Ricciardo is next up. Danny, you go first.
Danny Rick fans, how's that Red Bull drive looking? I mean, I thought he was going to be sat in a Red Bull seat in Zandvoort.
I still think he might be.
What, in Zandvoort?
Not Zandvoort.
He's not sitting in that car till after Mexico.
I didn't say before Mexico. But I think there is a high chance you will see if he performs, and he's got to perform against Tsunoda, if he performs, you've got Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki Tsunoda, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, and Liam Lawson all on Red Bull contracts. Now, they've said they will announce in September what will happen to Liam Lawson.
Tin Hat for good. Do you think the reports are true and Liberty Media got involved?
Possibly, but what you've got to remember is, people will now go, oh, well, Liberty shouldn't be involved. Bernie Ecclestone was involved in half the deals that were on the grid to make sure Schumacher got in a Ferrari, to make sure, certain drivers stayed in certain teams, stayed on the grid. Bernie got involved in loads, right? But this one, I would see very much. You got 5 drivers. Yes, okay, we've got Hajar, but he'll have to wait. Red Bull don't normally promote their champion anymore. I could see the rest of the season staying as it is. Maybe Liam Lawson getting 1 or 2 drives near the end of the season. But then on top of that, Sergio Perez doesn't perform. And if he doesn't perform, Daniel Ricciardo is in that Red Bull seat in 2025.
Let's just break it down to learn this. There's 3 drivers racing for 2 seats for next season.
And Daniel Ricciardo will not be racing for one of them seats. He will be in the Red Bull.
Let's go to his season review. But Danny Rick fans sent for me. I thought he was going to be in the Red Bulls. I thought he was going to be in the Red Bull seat. I mean, he couldn't beat Tsunoda for the first half of the season, but he's going to be in the Red Bull seat.
If rumours are to believe, he was already in the Red Bull seat and he got kicked back out of it.
Sucks to be you then, mate, doesn't it? Smiling all the way from Belgium. Yeah, I hope you kept that smile when they announced Checo was keeping the seat, mate.
Well, let's see.
I give Danny Rick a C. He was pathetic first half of the season, and now he's found some level of consistency, and he has been beating Tsunoda to the point now where there's probably nothing to choose between Tsunoda and him. Yes, Tsunoda is higher in the points table, but it's Fernando Alonso-esque where
he got points early on.
He got points at the start of the season when Danny Rick was trying to find his feet, and now that he's found his feet, probably I wouldn't be surprised if he beats Tsunoda by the time we're in Abu Dhabi at the end of in December, which is mental to say.
I very much think that Daniel's been told perform for the rest of the season, and Sergio doesn't. If Sergio continues as he is, and Daniel will be in the car next season, and Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda will be in the RB. If not, I see Daniel being the 3rd driver at Red Bull and then coming in later in the season when Perez isn't performing. But that's for another show. I agree. A C/D for me for Daniel. He hasn't done exactly what we expected, but he's still been there, and apparently he's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes for Red Bull. So, he is a there or thereabouts.
Let's move on to his teammate.
Hi Nick, thank you for popping in. I understand that the signal is not great, but Yuki Tsunoda. Now this is a difficult one. I think he's been very good at times this season, but let's forget about, say, Hungary, where they stuck Daniel on a completely stupid strategy and screwed his race over completely. When they went to, or was it Belgium? They stuck him on a stupid strategy and made Tsunoda do a 1-stop or something.
It was
somewhere.
Hungary. It was Hungary.
It was Hungary.
It was Hungary where they pitted him. I think he had a.
Yeah,
it looked like a 3-stop. It looked like a 3-stop, but it ended up being a really long 2-stop up from what I remember.
Yeah, so it was a really a bad strategy call there. Daniel would have scored probably same amount or more points than Yuki there. I think Yuki's done well, but there's been them off days as well, and that's a problem for Yuki. I think if he had consistently been, eight, scoring them points, and then all of a sudden going, oh well, I've had one bad day or whatever. But if you look at his results, there's the 14th and 15th at the start of the season. Then he goes 7th, 10th, retired, 7th, 10th, 8th. Then you get 3 races without even touching the top 13. Then a 10th and a 9th, then a 16th. It's just super well. Right. People are going to shoot me down for this, but it is typical Japanese driver in Formula One. It is. Sato was exactly the same. Oh, we seem to have lost Wajid.
No, you haven't. I'm just hiding my face. I'm not being associated. I'm not pissing off another nation.
Fair enough. We'll bring him back in. Yeah. Well, we can hide your hair. It's easier than getting rid of your camera. No, it's true. I mean, if you think about all the Japanese drivers that have been in Formula One, Ukio Katayama, Takuma Sato, Aguri Suzuki, all have massive speed about them, but then just don't be consistent enough. And I'm sorry, Yuki, it's been the same with yourself.
Japan,
I'm not saying it's about a Japanese culture or anything. It just coincides, it's almost like all British drivers are, quick. No, maybe not. All American drivers struggle because they come across the Atlantic to Europe and they struggle with Formula One. It's true. The last one which did any good was Mario Andretti back in the 70s and 80s. So this is the thing, there seems to be with Yuki just this inconsistency that doesn't quite go. And he has some outright pace, no doubt about it. But then it's inconsistent. So he'll be second in practice or pop one up in qualifying 1, but then he'll be out in qualifying 2. And it's just like, Yuki, come on. So personally, Yuki Tsunoda, I think you've done slightly better than Daniel Ricciardo this year. I would give you a high C. Now your turn to upset the Japanese.
I'm not upsetting the Japanese. I love Japan. I've still not been to your country yet. I'd really love to see Mount Fuji during the cherry blossom period. Your women are very beautiful as well. Yeah, Yuki, great job, man. You got the drive. Keep on doing what you do. The words of Japanese drivers are of Motorsport Magpie.
I'm not saying it's a cultural thing. I'm not sure.
All joking aside. He's very lucky that Guan Yu Zhou is having the season he's having in terms of third-year drivers, and he's also very lucky that there's not a Chinese engine manufacturer and Honda a Japanese manufacturer. To be perfectly honest, because he's not kicked on the way he should have done. There was, I think people forget the amount of hype Yuki Tsunoda had coming out of F2.
Yeah, because he took a lot of wins from dominant positions, from pole positions.
Yeah, like there was a lot of hype around Yuki, and he's had his ass kicked by Pierre Gasly. First season or whatever. Is this his third season or his fourth season?
I will check. He was here in 2021.
Was he here in 2021?
Remember, he was definitely here in 2021 because he finished 4th in Abu Dhabi. His first entry was 2021. He's had 80 entries, 77 starts.
This is his 4th season. Oh my days. He's had Gasly consistently beat him. Who was his teammate in season 3? Who was his teammate that season?
In his last season?
Yeah, last season. Who was his teammate?
It was De Vries and.
Oh yeah. So he's only beaten. So at this point in time, So at this moment in time, he's and Lawson came in and outperformed him. Oh yeah, whoops. Yeah, you're very lucky. You're very lucky when Usual's having the season he's having, and you're very lucky Honda, your engine provider. All joking aside, you have to beat Danny. You have to, in the position you're currently in, you have to beat Danny Rick this season. Otherwise, you're never getting a top drive.
Yeah, I don't think Yuki Tsunoda was ever going to be a top drive anyway. I don't think he would fit into the Red Bull mold myself. Could I see him going to Aston Martin? No. I still don't see him going to Aston Martin because Honda will have another prodigy by then. You know, they've got a huge amount of them in Super Formula. In F2, they've got what have they got right now? This is bugging me. F2. Who have they got right now? It's got a black car. Miata. Oh no, he's Toyota. Who have Honda got?
Honda's driver academy is the same as their MotoGP crop of bikes at the moment.
What, about 60 years old?
And just going nowhere. But yeah, while Dave sort of researches who's a Honda Academy driver.
Well, at the moment he comes up with Honda School of Motoring, so we'll skip past that one for another day.
But yeah, he's better than Ricciardo given how he started the season, but he needs to beat Danny Rick.
So we're still saying C.
C.
Yeah. Okay.
And let's move on to the all French outfit, which is going to be sold by the end of next season and probably be owned by Toyota or Andretti or.
I don't think you've even come up with a name that's going to buy it. I think we're going to be looking at high-tech Grand Prix by the end of the season.
Well,
why else would you bring Golly Oaks in?
Well,
don't get me wrong, Golly's a great team principal, but why?
There's one driver that's signed to high-tech / Toyota / Andretti / Cadillac /
Renault
/ Renault /
Lotus. You missed Lotus.
Oh, sorry, Lotus. Yeah, sorry.
Gasly.
I'll let you go first.
Okay. I think he's not had a bad season. You know, we've got to remember how much of a dog of a car this is at a couple of circuits. Certainly took a bit of a sprint on, and then obviously all of a sudden they've gone back to being near the back of the grid in terms of Honda. In terms of Alpine. What we got? Gasly, he had a run of 4 top 10s in a row, and then he did not start in Britain, and it hasn't got much better since. 13th in Belgium. I think that was from the pit lane, I want to say. So not too bad there, but I think Gasly is dragging the best he can out of the car. I don't think it's his best season in terms of driving, but it's been okay. And personally, if I'm rating him, I think Gasly is a C.
Absolutely 100% agree. And I think next season is the defining. I feel like I've said this a lot of Gasly, but I genuinely believe next season is a career-defining season for Gasly, whether he
definitely
is a constant midfield drive or he is someone that teams will look at 2026 as this guy can take my car forward. We forget he's a race winner, but 2020 is a long time ago now.
Yeah.
And 2020 today is still his best season in Formula One, in my opinion, because he drove no fear, like the Gasly of F2 with the hype and all that, and he's very much gone down Lewis's route of the fashion, the culture, the music, but on the track the performances aren't the same. David and I are probably the only ones in the sort of motorsporting podcasting media world that say this openly, and people don't want to touch on it, but I will say the death of Antoine Hubert, I personally believe, still affects Pierre Gasly, and he needs to try and get those demons out of his head, because he, especially in Belgium, he's lost a 10th or 2 tenths, which is obviously unfortunate. I'm not even downplaying the loss of a friend. I think we all know how devastating the loss of someone is, but as an F1 driver, it's starting to affect him a bit. And yeah, next season is a big season in whatever brand of car that is. But yeah, it's a C for me for Gasly. And I think Dave, you said a C as well, right?
Yeah, I'm going for a C as well. I've pressed reset by accident, so I'm just currently throwing everybody back into where they should be.
Well, I'll quickly move on to the final driver in this review that was supposed to be shorter than it was. And yeah, Ocon. I'm just going to it's been a poor season. Yeah, cool, you're a really nice guy. You're moving to Haas next year. Again, I've got to give you a D for the simple fact of you decide to run another teammate off the road in Monaco and try to end both your races. You lost your job. You're in Haas. You're still somehow trying to repair your career, repair your reputation as someone who can drive with his teammate and not not a home wrecker essentially. I've given him a D. I think, even though I do believe he's ahead of Gasly in the championship, I believe. Oh shit! I wasn't meant to.
Yeah, he is. It's just a smidgen ahead. No, he's behind Gasly by 1 point.
Yeah, then it's a D. Okay, cool. And you, Matt?
Yeah, in terms of Ocon, I just think it's been for Ocon, it's been a tough year in terms of results. I think if they expected, like Gasly, expected a lot more from the Alpine. I think we all expected a bit more from the Alpine, to be fair, but definitely not a bad peddler. Definitely needs to get out of the way of his teammates sometimes, and not just very much a George Russell mindset. I've got to beat my teammate. I think a D's okay. Maybe Renault Alpine could have got a little bit more, but maybe sticking with Mercedes engine in the back of that, even if it does stay Alpine, it's not a shabby engine, is it? It's certainly a pusher when they build it correctly. So yeah, I think that's fair. I think D's absolutely fair. So what we'll do now is quickly show you our view, our position on the table, which that one was Ocon. Yes, that is the last one. And this is what we came up with for our half-term report. Nico Hulkenberg, brilliant, tries hard, gets the results, stays as an A. Max Verstappen, quite high in the class, always doing well. He stays there and pushes on, as regardless of whether he's got the quickest car. In the B class, we've got Carlos Sainz, just missing that little edge to be able to make it into the top of the field. Charles Leclerc, who we think has that little bit of edge, but just got to find it. Oscar Piastri, second-year driver, certainly moved on in the second half of the season, as have the two Mercedes drivers, but still a little bit better to reach the top of the class. C class, we actually have Lando Norris in there. Maybe a bit controversial for a few people, but Lando Norris in there as C because we feel like there's been a few too many mistakes and you have to take your chances when the results come to you. Lando hasn't quite done that. Two Aston Martins been pretty equal throughout the season, so they stay together in C class. Alex Albon, bit controversial for me. I felt he could do better, must try harder as such, but we balanced him into a C in the end. Same with Pierre Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda, who seems to be a bit inconsistent, Daniel Ricciardo, very inconsistent, but we know the pace is there. And Valtteri Bottas, who seems to have driven a combine harvester to a top 11 at some point. D class, Kevin Magnussen, we're looking at, he's probably out of a drive next season, so questions there about his motivation, but certainly done the job for the team, shall we say. And Esteban Ocon would have been C if he didn't keep driving into teammates. And in the bottom class, as you can see, we rated nobody E. So in F, we have Logan Sargent, who we all expect to be leaving Formula One at the end of the season, maybe to go to IndyCar. Sergio Perez, who was in the quickest car of the season at one point and still is 7th in the championship.
And winless.
And
winless.
And winless. And then Zhou Guanyu, who's been completely, absolutely nowhere for the majority of the season. I think we're all agreed with that.
Yeah, I think we are. Interested to see what the second half of the season brings. As always, we planned on making this podcast slightly shorter, and it ends up being nearly 2 hours. So,
well, be honest, we were going to do 2 podcasts and split the grid in half, so it would have been about the same length, to be fair. So
yes, it would have. But no, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's not the quickest car anymore, but
we said when the season started, Nick.
Go back to the start, Nick. Watch it on YouTube in about a day. Yeah. Watch the whole thing.
Even if you just want to run it in the background and
just in the background. Yeah. You can mute us even.
Yeah, and get on with your work.
So thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And thank you for the subscriber we had in the stream as well. Really, really appreciate it. All your support, your likes, your comments, they really do help the channel grow. And we are genuinely seeing like a regular, consistent viewership and growth. And we just want to say thank you very much for your support. We are trying to be more consistent this year. Whether it happens or not is different, but we are trying.
Well, we're still going at this point, whereas we did Zandvoort preview last year and then stopped. So, but that was due to other reasons. But I mean, we had 150 views on our last podcast, which is just amazing for us. So, if we could get the same again.
Yeah, just numbers we didn't, to be honest, numbers given how small our channels, we didn't think we'd be hitting. So really appreciate all your support, and we are planning to be back on Monday for something. We will. We did have
it could be F1 Grid 2025-26.
That was it. There was something. But no, thank you, David. Thank you very much as always for the invite and having me on. And I really
that's fine. And thank you everybody for being in the chat. As I say, appreciate it. I know I haven't streamed iRacing as much as I would do, but we had fun in the kitchen. But we're getting that sorted. It's going to be sorted tomorrow, so hopefully I'll be able to get back streaming properly next week. Monday nights, obviously, is the soft race for Formula Ford commentary. Make sure you tune in for that. Monday morning-ish, probably about the same time as this, we will be going live for the F1 grid. Hopefully we'll actually know the grid by next season and give our opinions on it, but there's not many seats left. But we should do that a bit quicker.
Sorry, and just going forward, we will try be either if it's myself or David, we will be trying to be a lot more quicker when it comes to breaking news and things like that, and not wait 3 to 5 business days to report.
3 to 5 business days is still quicker than Max Verstappen gets picked up from a petrol station when he loses. Anyway, thank you everybody. Thanks you Punchable for popping in. I'm afraid we kind of just finished. There we go then. Between me and you, who's taking the Merc seat? We'll just answer this question. It's going to be Nico Antonelli, isn't it? Kimi Antonelli. Don't know why I keep calling him Nico Antonelli.
It's gonna be Antonelli and Russell in that seat next season.
Yeah.
Surprise!
Yeah. Spoiler alert. The most one we don't know who's going to get it is the Sauber, because we think Alpine will be Jack Doohan. That seems to be the rumor.
Let's save this for Monday.
And who knows who will get the Sauber? Hey, Nikita Mazepin might come back. Anyway, thank you everybody for being here. We'll talk about 2025, 2026 in a few days' time. But for now, we will see. Is there anybody on Twitch? Yes, there is. So we will raid. Stay with us on Twitch. We will raid. We'll raid. Hang on. Who's on? Dario's on. Let's actually see who else is on. Who's on F1? Stay with us, please. I know it takes me a while to do this. Category F1 24. Who's on F1 24? Let's raise somebody like that. There's absolutely nobody on F124.
Just raid Dario. Let's get out.
Yeah, let's just raid Dario. Because Dario does a lot for the channel, as we always say. So go over, see Dario doing his Formula Ford, and we'll see you very, very shortly for the next podcast episode. And oh no, we're unable to raid Dario at this time apparently, so we're just going to end. There's only a couple of you anyway. See you very, very soon. Goodbye.